Alright, welcome back everyone for week number 5 for the TGS. I am your coach of the Long Beach Ninkata. Obviously, I said I was going to go back to the normal broadcasting, but life has been kind of erratic for me the past few weeks, so it's kind of hard to keep a consistent schedule for myself, so I'm just going to have to post-com this. I originally had this live com, and I was going to do it, but the footage I had ended up getting corrupted, so I'm just going to have to briefly go over the match post-com, unfortunately, so you don't get to see any live reactions to the things that happened in the game. But as you can see on the screen, as I have listed across the screen, I made some free agent transactions. So we ended up dropping Tera Ledge as well, altogether we dropped Sarah Ledge, and so we lost that as our Terra Captain as well. We removed the Terra Captain ability from our River, and then we also dropped Mienshao and Low Kicks. And then as a result, we picked up two Mons. We picked up Chiyu, he made it our Terra Captain, and we picked up Shaman. At this point, I felt like my team needed a little bit more of a punch. Now, I was debating between getting Terra Chiyu and Terra Iron Moth. Moth didn't necessarily have the raw punch that Chiyu offered that I kind of wanted, but Moth had a better speed tier. So I was going back and forth for basically a week and a half because I knew I was going to wait to make the transactions until after week 4. And so it would have... I ended up going with Chiyu, but I do think Iron Moth was the better pick. Just hindsight after the fact, that I do think it was the better pick to go with the Iron Moth route, but I wanted to try Chiyu, and at this point, with how the season's been going, I haven't had a whole lot of fun with how the game states have gone, the sequences. I kind of wanted to dumb down my team a little bit to make it a little bit easier to use, a little more brainless. And focus less on the result and more on the interactions in the game and the sets that I bring. So rather than kill myself over the the prep and then having the prep being wasted because of things in the game, I'm just going to focus solely on basically just enjoying whatever I do. So yeah. Alright, so I removed the free agents there. As you can see, this is our team, and this is A12's team. On the right side, he has Terra Urshifu Single, which is the dark type one, Palafin, Cinderace, Hisuian, Zoroark, Fezandipity, which is a really cool new mon. It's really fat. Gliscor, Cyclizar, Alomomola, Meowstic, Wigglytuff, Seviper, and Alolan Executor. So I kind of considered this team as like a top 8 team. Like, you can bring any of the 8, and then the stuff on the bottom I wasn't necessarily sure, because when people bring the low tier mons, they kind of just bring it when they want to bring it, and so you kind of can loosely be prepared for it, but you also really can't. I had to prepare for Executor. He's brought it to like half of his games at this point, and he's won because of it. And so he's also lost because it's missed Leaf Storm. So and it's a Terra user, so I had to kind of respect it. I wasn't sure. I don't think he was going to bring Wigglytuff. I don't have a big oppressive dragon. I mean, outside of Dragonite, but a lot of his team is fat enough to kind of just take it on. So Viper I didn't think was going to come. And a Meowstic, I wasn't sure. T-Wave is decent until T-Wave into like Dragonite or Torn is decent. Revavroom as well, since it's no longer Terra. Or it could be Screens, so I wasn't sure exactly what he wanted to do. But I can kind of consider this as like a top 8 team, maybe Executor, maybe Meowstic. But yeah, outside of that, this is what I ended up bringing. So first set is Chiyu. It's a very fat Chiyu, 200 HP with some defense, 32 special attack, and max speed. It's just the speed tie with max speed Palafin. Flamethrower, Terra Blast, substitute Nasty Plot with Terra type Poison. This is basically going to allow me to set up on things like Fezandipity, as well as handle the likes of like a Alomomola. For example, if I Terra Poison, Flip Turn does not break my sub. So if he does try to just Flip Turn and use like an Assault Vest set, which I do kind of expect to come on Alomomola, it's not going to be able to break that sub. I was debating going Steel or Poison here. Steel was pretty decent because it kind of blocked the Zoroark from being able to Hyper Voice. and it still checked the Fezandipiti, Alomola in the same fashion. Cyclizar, if it brought it as well, wouldn't be able to like hyper voice me or something. Dragon moves wouldn't be as effective, but it was a bit weaker to like close combat. Cinderace, for example, could actually kill me. Gliscor was always going to be annoying, but Terra Poison with Terra Blast was actually just a better neutral into things like Palafin, as well as Alomola. I would have had to run Dark Pulse instead of Flamethrower, which honestly is not horrendous, but the Flamethrower was a little bit better into things like Gliscor or like Urshifu, for example. I didn't know what type of Urshifu he'd bring Terra type wise. But yeah, I thought this was fine. I debated Steel, but we'll see if that ends up biting me in the ass. But Overquill, Helmet, just defensive. Barbarage, Icy Wind, Haze, Endure. This is just for Urshifu. Like that's literally it. Yeah, if he's like a Trailblaze set, I can Haze, I can Icy Wind. Endure's there for Rocky Helmet chip and all that stuff. Yeah, Dragonite, defensive, Helmet. Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Roost, Agility. It's actually a cool set. If I get an Agility up, I actually outspeed his entire team. And Thunderbolt Ice Beam hits everything for what I need to. If it's Mola with like Assault Vest, it's not like it does anything back to me, and it's not wishing either. So I can kind of stall. If he clicks Split Turn, he takes Rocky Helmet. Granted, he breaks my multi-scale, but I can Agility be faster than things, and then Roost to get back to multi-scale. And it makes this a really annoying set to beat if I start getting it off. But kind of handles things like Cinderace, Urshifu, Palafin, and all those likes. Gliscor could be toxic, but that's why I ran Ice Beam. It should be able to knock out Gliscor if it's defensive here. And then Shaman with Citrus Berry. This is my Palafin switch in. That's primarily it. Baton Pass, Synthesis, Giga Drain, Earth Power. Torn. This is potentially one of our win cons outside of the Dragonite. Chiu's meant here to break, but Torn can also just break here. Acrobatics, U-turn, bulk up, substitute. So very interesting that I'm bulk up substitute with U-turn, but this is my lead, and I didn't feel a need for a fourth move, so I put U-turn on it in the case I need to use it to like pivot around. But I primarily only need acrobatics. He has no steel type on his team and no electric type, so acrobatics is extremely free unless he brings like Terra Steel or electric on his Urshifu or Executor. Acrobatics is still going to be pretty free. I have this HP SPDF ratio to kind of handle the likes of Fezandipiti and Mola. Again, similar to Chiu, I can sub up on them and they will not be able to break it with this investment. I didn't really need any investment for acrobatics to do any damage. Stab 110. With bulk ups, it's going to be really good. At +2, Cinderace can't two-shot me. I believe Palafin doesn't two-shot with Jet Punch at +1 if he's like Bandit or something. I don't remember the exact calc. Gliscor gets walled by this like very heavily. Zoroark, if it's Scarfed, it doesn't do over 50. It does 49% max with Hyper Voice, so I should be fine even with like Citrus Berry to activate my acrobatics. I felt like that was the best item to have, and it works in tandem with Substitute. And this is a an even HP Torn, so I can get to that Citrus Berry quicker. And then Iron Treads, Aqua Berry. I didn't feel need to put like Assault Vest on this because I wanted Rocks, Earthquake Spinner, Rapid Spin. It's primarily here to take hits from like Zoroark if he's like Shadow Ball or Flamethrower, Overheat, Cyclizar, I can take it. Cinderace, Pyro Ball, I can take as well. So that's kind of the use of Aqua Berry. I didn't see a need for any other item at that point, and I'm not really going to use this as a Fezandipiti switch since I have a lot of things that kind of abuse it. But yeah, that was the team. So why don't we head into the match here? So you can see my team here on the left. He brought the team here on the right: Urshifu, Alomola, Cinderace, Cyclizar, Zoroark, and Meowstic. So these are actually, I expected these 5 that could come. Like I said, you know, any of these top 8 could come. And if he wanted to bring Meowstic or Executor, he could. He ended up bringing Meowstic, and then he ended up benching the likes of Gliscor, Fezandipiti, and Palafin. So I was actually kind of shocked, no Palafin. Makes Shaman a little bit less useful, and I can kind of use it more expendably. But yeah, he has he has no Gliscor either, which makes the, you know, things a little bit easier offensively, I guess. And then no Pheasantipity, which really helps my Chi-Yu. But it kind of makes, seeing that he has double normal and all that, it kind of makes me wish I did bring my my Terra Steel on Chi-Yu. But I debated up to the very point of the match, like beginning of the match, but I decided just to keep Poison because I didn't want to stress about it too much. But yeah, like I said, Torn was my lead. I was expecting him to probably lead with like some Illusion Sash set or maybe just a Alomomola, since it kind of led well versus everything and you can get a free flip turn. So I decided to lead with my Torn here, as he decides to lead with his Urshifu. Let's turn this speed down to slow. But yeah, he leads Urshifu. I have a feeling this is not the Zoroark, because if he is the Zoroark, he's not really going to risk staying in, because if I'm like Specs Hurricane or Specs Bleak Wind, it's going to nuke the Zoroark. Even if he's Sash, like it's not going to do a whole lot. And then the Urshifu here, if he's Scarf, probably like it can't kill me. And then even if it's banded, I could be some defensive set for all he knows, but I can easily go into this. But yeah, he is in fact banded based off of this damage. But I figured it was the safest thing to just swap out. I didn't want to take a random Wicked Blow with my Torn if he was Scarf, so it was just safer to go Overcoil here first. But yeah, it ends up being the Urshifu like I thought. I was comfortable going into this because I didn't think it was going to be Zoroark. No poison here with Barb Barrage, but that's all right. I was going to click Endure, but then I didn't. So I don't know why I didn't click Endure, but yeah, there you go. I think I was like, oh, I didn't get a poison. So this thing could have been lower and actually in range of Stealth Rocks, which is really unfortunate for me because, yeah, that's like really annoying. Now I can just click U-turn here. I know he's banded, but I can also just go for a sub if I wanted to, but I opted to just click U-turn because I didn't want him to stay in and see my set. And he could have went into something like Cyclizar or whatever, and that actually outspeeds me if he was like Specs, because I didn't run max speed on Torn, so Cyclizar, which is normally a speed tie, would actually outspeed me if he ran for the speed tie. So I knew that it was going to be a little bit dicier, but he brings in Cinderace on my U-turn. I just bring in Dragonite. I didn't want to bring in Treads because he could high jump kick me or low kick. Dragonite, I just click Thunderbolt as he goes Meowstic. Now he could click like D-Wave or something, so I just go Treads, but he opts to click Trick here. I considered maybe going Chi-Yu, as that was actually, it kind of walls this pretty well, and he can't do a whole lot, but I figured if anything he might click like Screens or something, so I just wanted to get my rocks up, but he tricked me a Lagging Tail, which would have failed versus Chi-Yu, but I do get my rocks up here, and I debated running Volt Switch on this over Rapid Spin, because I just felt like I didn't need Rapid Spin in the early game, but given that I had so many things weak to rocks that had no boots in this matchup, I figured I needed Spin, so Volt Switch would have been nice versus this, but since I'm Lagging Tail, this outspeeds, I'm forced to go Shaman as it just flip turns out for free, and he should be able to bring in Cinderace here. Now, I know he's going to click Court Change, but he took rocks here, so I was like, is he Scarfed? Is he banded? Like, I have no idea what his item is, so I don't want to risk it, so I just go into Dragonite here as he does click the Court Change. He is Libero. At this point, I could probably just click Roost, which I do, just to get back to full, and I know this Alomomola is just going to click probably Flip Turn here, break my scale, but I do get a para here on the Alomomola, which is pretty fortunate for me, because that makes it so the sub turns with Chi-Yu and Torn could be a little bit more punishing versus Mola here. And if he gets fully paralyzed as he tries to click Flip Turn, it gives me an extra turn to hit him or set up. So he clicks Flip Turn there. And I have no idea if this is the Cyclizar or the Zoroark. I debated this turn really long. I thought maybe I should go Shaman. Treads could be I could go into treads on, potential specs. Zoroark, if it was Zoroark. Cyclizar, it could be as well. It's hard to tell because they both can U-turn and they're both normal types. So it's a bit hard to tell if they do, especially if they lock Hyper Voice. So I consider just sacking Shaman. It literally does nothing here for me. But if it's like Draco Meteor, I kind of wanted to scout it. So I stayed in because I'm not sure if he would lock Draco Meteor, as that's kind of a ample setup opportunity. So I just go for Roost just to scout what he clicks, and then I go for Agility here because if he does decide to go into like Cyclizar or Zoroark, they have to be Scarf here. So if he does go into Cyclizar, again, I have no idea if this is like what it has. Obviously, he probably thinks I have Ice Beam to cover the Gliscor. I could still be like Dragon Move and hit this, but this could also just be Zoroark. And he's just baiting, I guess, hoping that I can't kill him, which probably I can't. But I don't want to risk it, so I go into my treads here as he opts to go for Hyper Beam, and that is definitely Zoroark. That does a tremendous amount of damage here. And again, I couldn't tell if this was the Cyclizar from before or if it was Zoroark before because the Cyclizar took Rocky Helmet damage. So, and because of Regenerator, it's hard to tell exactly what the chip is. But I know he has to recharge. I decide to go for Stealth Rock here because I know it's Zoroark. I'm not going to Rapid Spin on it. He goes for Hyper Beam, and this is great because now he's forced to recharge, and I get a free turn here with Torn to click Substitute. So that's what I do. I am faster than him because I know he has choice specs on the Zoroark. He has to recharge here, and there's no way he's staying in to click Hyper Beam, which I can sub on infinitely. So he goes Mola here as I decide to go for a Bulk Up. He sees U-turn sub Bulk Up, so he's like, what the? And he saw the Citrus Berry already. So I go for a Bulk Up here as he decides to go for a Flip Turn. Obviously, at +2, that is not going to break. But he decides to go into Urshifu here. And this is where I was talking about me not clicking Endure was really bad. I don't know why I didn't click Endure, but this would have been dead to rocks, which is really annoying because this whole scenario that's about to come up would not have happened if I had just clicked Endure like I was supposed to. Again, I can't tell you why I didn't click Endure. In the game, I think at that point I was just sacking it, so I just assumed, okay, I'm going to sack it, and I just didn't click Endure. It was the worst play of the game, but this is probably the other worst play of the game from me. But yeah, I'm +2. In this scenario, I know he has to either Sucker Punch or Wicked Blow. It's the same Fated. He's a choice item Urshifu. They never want to lock into Sucker Punch versus Substitute Mons or Bulk Up Mons. So it's an awful scenario for him because he has to make a Wicked Blow play. And I should know this. I even said this in the commentary that I feel like he has to Wicked Blow. But in most scenarios, I'm like, okay, if I click Bulk Up, he probably clicks Wicked Blow. But if I click a move, there is that chance he just clicks Sucker Punch, and I just lose. I just lose the sub anyway. So I'm like, by all accounts, it's more likely that I'm going to lose the substitute. So I shouldn't even bother going for a play around Sucker Punch. That was my logic. But then ultimately I was like, well, if he doesn't break this sub and get this play right, he might just lose the game. Because if I get this right and the sub is still active, Mola is paralyzed at this point in time. Acrobatic's gonna nuke that. It's not defensive. Cinderace, he would have to be Scarfed. I have no idea what his click is here. He would have had to click U-turn or something. I don't know. And it's Cyclizar. I have no idea if it's specs or whatever. Scarf at this point in time. All I saw was a click U-turn. And in Zoroark, I know is specs, so I know it doesn't outspeed me. And in Meowstic, if it has T-Wave, then I know I need to have a sub up to get around the T-Wave with Meowstic. So at this point, I honestly know he has to break the sub, and he knows that I could potentially play off the Sucker Punch here, and I have two moves that can do that. He should click Wicked Blow. So, because of that, I should click Acrobatics here and kill him. But then I just decided after the long thought, I said, screw it. I think he's going to Sucker Punch because in this scenario, going for Wicked Blow is literally the only play for a choice item. scenario versus substitute. I just think locking into Sucker Punch is a deadly play, and I'm telling you as if I'm going to click Acrobatics here, and I know he's going to click Wicked Blow, but for some reason I just convinced myself that he was going to click Sucker Punch for some reason. So I clicked Bulk Up. Honestly, horrendous play on my end, because even if he did actually click Sucker Punch there, you could say, oh, it was a 50. In my eyes, it wasn't a 50. There was more likely chance that he was going to break the sub than anything else. So I think I have to just attack what's in front of me, because I have to play off his choke of clicking, or play off the read that he'll click Wicked Blow instead of Sucker Punch and just have my sub up. But I just didn't do that. So honestly, horrendous play by me. I kill him this turn, obviously, but now he can go into Meowstic and he can click Thunder Wave and force me out. Granted, I could just try and take a kill here, but I think it was a roll. I'm not sure if this is like max defense Meowstic or something, but it could be a roll, and if I do get paralyzed, it kind of sucks, but I would be paralyzed. Cinderace is still here. Specs Zoroark can outspeed me. I don't want to get paralyzed here, so I have to make an aggressively offensive play here. Go to Chi-Yu on his T-Wave. I am a Dark type, so you can't hit me. Obviously, it doesn't work, and at this point, I can click Substitute. This thing doesn't learn Encore, which is pretty nice, so he goes into a Lomomola, which is obviously probably Assault Vest here, as I go for Nasty Plot. Oh, okay. Interesting. I went for Nasty Plot because I knew he had to go Mola, and then I substituted on his potential flip turn, but he actually gets paralyzed here, so pretty fortunate for me. I'm actually going to get damage off on this, and you'll see this is actually pretty fortunate for me. I get a crit, which means that through the Regenerator, he actually will be in range of Terra Blast again. So that was a big para into crit there for me. But yeah, this comes in. It takes rocks. Again, I have no idea if it's the Zoroark or the Cyclozar at this point. So I know, if anything, it's probably the Zoroark, because it's the only thing that can actually kill me if I'm not a bulky Chi-Yu. Specs Hyper Voice is the only thing that kills here. But because I'm 200 HP, the maximum amount of damage he can do is, I think it was like 74 point something %, and I was at like a high 74. It was guaranteed to live from a Zoroark Hyper Voice. So I knew I could technically kill the Zoroark here, and I would still be behind a substitute, and he would have had to sack something. I mean, if he went Cinderace, he probably would have just clicked Pyro Ball and knocked out my hit there, and then he would have gotten in his something like Cyclozar, for example. So at this point, he goes for Hyper Voice, but he crits me, so that takes away any semblance of a chance at the end game here. As you can see, it was kind of unfortunate. Positionally, it was a bit tough because, again, I had to sack this Shaman, which could have still been alive, and I would have gotten chip on something later on, whether that be the actual Cyclozar or like the Meowstic, for example. So yeah, I couldn't scout anything about the actual Cyclozar, so I go into Shaman here. I need chip on this because Acrobatics actually didn't kill from Torn. But yeah, that crit basically sealed the game. There was nothing I could do about it positionally, but as you'll see when he comes in here, that he is actually bringing in Cyclozar, finally. You'll notice here that he's actually Choice Banded with Outrage, and that's going to do a tremendous amount of damage to Dragonite, and as you'll see, he'll actually one-shot Torn as well. So positionally, he was going to be fine with the Cyclozar in the endgame, but my endgame was positioning to try and get Agility Dragonite in and try and win with that. But obviously, he has T-Wave with Meowstic. He could have tricked me and took away my helmet and all that stuff if he had screens on it, maybe as well. But yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. Again, if I didn't mess up the Torn play, I think this game probably would have been over. Obviously, it's hindsight because he did click Wicked Blow, but again, I had convinced myself that entire turn that he was going to click Wicked Blow. Locking in the Sucker Punch with choice items is never the play. But for some reason, I just didn't listen to myself there. So it's a bit unfortunate, but We live with it. We're now 2-3. Our differential is pretty horrid at this point, and we have some tough matchups at the end of the season. I wouldn't say I've totally given up, but I'm definitely leaning more towards more fun-oriented prep and sets that I've wanted to try. Again, the Torn was a set I wanted to try with bulk up acrobatics. It was the best matchup for it, in my opinion. I thought Specs was too linear with an assault vest, Lomomola, and all that. I felt like I could abuse it here in this matchup, especially with Chi-Yu forcing a lot of prep. Obviously, I think it would have worked out a lot better had I not screwed up that turn, but it happens. It was still cool to be able to see it somewhat set up and all that, but not be able to finish is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, we're 2-3. Honestly, it's looking pretty bad differential-wise. We're at the bottom of the table, basically, with differential. And if we lose another game, I just don't see how we can catch up differential-wise unless we start body bagging people. So, yeah, we'll see how next week treats us. We play Zooch, and he has a pretty scary offensive team. But hopefully we can get carried by Chi-Yu or Torn again. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys for week 6.